Okay, so Rosé from Blackpink. Just think about that name for a second. Global superstar.
Absolutely huge. Millions, billions of streams, fans everywhere.
Right. Instantly recognizable voice. But what really happens when someone like that, with that kind of platform, steps out totally on their own?
That's exactly what we're digging into today. This deep dive is all about Rosé's solo interviews around her album, Rosie.
And we're not just talking standard promo fluff here. These are some surprisingly revealing conversations.
Yeah, we've really gone through her chats with ID, NPR, Teen Vogue, Apple Music. The mission, to get beyond the headlines, understand the person behind Rosie.
What was driving this solo thing? What can we and you listening sort of take away from her creative process, her experiences?
Get ready to hear Rosé in maybe a bit of a different light.
Okay, let's dive in. The album itself. Rosie. That name, it's not just random, is it?
No, not at all. It's her nickname, right? Or her close friends or family call her.
So that intimacy feels like almost the key right from the start. It's like she's intentionally showing us a different side.
Totally. Contrasting that, the huge Blackpink stage presence, that pop star facade she's even mentioned. Like inspired by Beyonce, that kind of power.
Yeah, the icon.
Compared to, Rosie at home,
Yeah.
maybe downloading videos,
Yeah.
connecting in a different way.
And she talks about both being dreams, right? It's not like one is fake and one is real. They're just different facets.
Exactly. Different sides of her ambition, her identity. And it feels like she's trying to bridge those worlds with this solo album, showing both are real, authentic parts of who she is.
But actually making that leap, coming off a massive Blackpink tour, going straight into solo mode, that couldn't have been easy.
No way. She's been really open about the pressure she felt.
That feeling of, is this the right decision? Can I actually trust my own instincts here when it's all me? That's relatable, I think.
That's super relatable. Moving from that collaborative machine of Blackpink to suddenly being the sole driver, that's a huge shift.
Did she talk about a moment when it clicked? Or was it gradual?
Seems more gradual. She mentioned a point during the album making process where she realized, okay, I think I can maybe just work at this.
Not like a sudden lightning bolt.
No, more like building confidence step by step. And she really emphasized how much the support from her friends and family helped. That encouragement was key.
Which makes total sense, having that inner circle when you're taking a big risk.
Definitely. And it seems like that whole journey, that process, it unlocked something new in her voice, too.
Yeah, she called it a different power, a different feeling compared to the group dynamic.
Which is interesting, isn't it? How individual talents can sometimes, blossom in a different way when they have that dedicated space.
It really highlights that dynamic in successful groups. The collaboration is amazing, obviously, but solo projects let you explore those personal, artistic corners.
Things that might not always fit or get the spotlight in the group context.
Okay, let's get into the songs, the stories behind them. Number One Girl, that one really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah. Powerful stuff.
The inspiration was so raw. Feeling kind of empty after a big, amazing event, then scrolling through negative comments online.
Ugh, yeah. That juxtaposition.
And wanting to write something just disgustingly honest, she said, about that need for validation.
That vulnerability is front and center, the lyrics she shared.
Wow. Tell me I'm a little angel sweetheart of your city.
Tell me that I'm relevant.
Tell me that I've got a big heart, then back it up with evidence. It's so specific.
And her take on it, that it's this universal, maybe even toxic desire to just be loved and accepted. It really cuts deep, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you think about how we all look for that affirmation. Maybe in healthier ways, maybe not.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then, on a completely different note, you have APT.
APT. Korean for apartment. The origin story for that one is just great.
So fun, just teaching friends a Korean drinking game in the studio.
Yeah. Apparently they're just joking around like, haha, we should write a song about this game.
And then they actually did. It just shows how creativity can spark anywhere, right? From the most random, casual moments.
And then the fact that Bruno Mars ends up on the track.
I know. It's wild. She talked about not even believing it was possible at first.
And being nervous recording with him. Who wouldn't be?
Right. But apparently he heard the song and was like, this is crazy. And then started giving her vocal coaching right there in the studio.
What a story. That's amazing.
It's a fantastic little peek behind the curtain.
And it's pretty significant that she wrote or co-wrote all the songs on Rosie.
Huge. especially considering she mentioned being a bit hesitant initially.
Yeah.
Trusting the pros, the experienced songwriters.
But then she became, what was the word she used? Anal about getting the sound exactly right.
Yeah, yeah. The Rosé Says No story apparently became iconic in the studio, which shows real growth, right? Finding her own voice, literally and figuratively.
Absolutely. That confidence to say, no, this isn't quite it yet.
She compared songwriting to a puzzle. Trying to find the right piece, see if it fits in that section. I think anyone who creates anything can relate to that.
Yeah, that trial and error. And then there's Game Boy. That one feels heavy.
Definitely seems to carry emotional weight. She described it as the song that finally closed the loop on a difficult chapter.
Presumably related to a past relationship. The X, she called it.
Using your art to process something painful, to find closure, that's incredibly powerful.
It really is. It shows how music can be more than just entertainment. It can be, like, therapeutic.
And her whole creative approach, imagining characters, scenarios, almost like acting, she said, gives you a real insight into how she connects with these different emotions in her songs.
Okay, shifting gears a little bit. This next bit is fascinating. She actually got advice from Taylor Swift.
Right. Imagine that.
Just at a party, apparently.
Yeah.
Rosé went up to her, said she was a huge fan, had some questions.
And Taylor's response was immediate. Spill, let me help you out.
Amazing. So generous.
Really telling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Swift offering that kind of support, that mentorship to another artist navigating the solo path.
Especially the independent artist path.
Exactly. Taylor apparently gave her number, offered to answer more questions later,
Wow.
and gave her a rundown on all the things I have to look out for, focusing on the practical stuff, the logistics.
Not just creative advice, but the business side.
Yeah, Taylor trying to sort of protect her based on her own experiences. Rosé clearly saw her as someone who has absolutely killed it in the game.
What an incredible resource to have access to. That kind of peer-to-peer support is invaluable.
Definitely a moment of real connection and generosity there.
So let's talk a bit about her background, too, because it informs so much. Born in New Zealand,
Raised in Australia.
then moved to South Korea when she was, 15 or 16? To sign with YG Entertainment.
Yeah, quite young. And it's this interesting mix of cultures. Korean was part of her home life growing up speaking the language, Korean church.
But she said when she actually moved there, she realized there was still so much to learn.
Those first 4 years, she described them as a bit of a struggle.
Really? What was the main challenge?
Understanding all the nuances of respect in Korean culture. She said there's so many layers to it.
Okay. That makes sense. It's a reminder that even if you have a connection to a culture through family, actually living there, immersing yourself is a whole different thing.
Totally different. Lots of unexpected learning curves.
And it probably highlights how important her Blackpink members must be to each other.
Oh, for sure. She talks about how they all support each other's solo stuff because they get it. They understand the unique pressures and experiences.
She called them three other twins.
That's such a great way to put it. That deep bond, that shared history, it must be incredibly grounding.
Yeah, likely a massive part of why they can do these individual projects but still feel like Blackpink.
That shared foundation is strong.
Okay, finally, let's touch on something maybe a bit different but really interesting. Rosé's English. How she speaks in these interviews.
Yeah, it's quite noticeable, isn't it? Her speaking style.
It really is, and it makes her incredibly relatable to a huge global audience. She uses English phrases so naturally. We actually jotted down a bunch from the interviews.
Oh, yeah. Well, like what?
Things like super grateful, pinching myself, hectic right now, give credit for myself, just scattered throughout her conversation.
What's really cool about it is not just the words, but how she uses them. It sounds very natural, often idiomatic.
Exactly. Which, if you're learning English, hearing phrases used like that in a real conversation, that's gold. So much better than just a textbook.
Provides real context, practical application. You hear how it actually sounds.
Totally. And her whole demeanor, her speaking style, it's generally quite calm, quite genuine.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a heavily media-trained, super formal press thing. More like just a conversation.
Right. And her emotional honesty comes through, which makes it feel less like you're sitting through a language lesson and more like you're actually connecting with a real person sharing real stuff.
And that makes learning much more engaging, doesn't it, when there's that emotional connection?
Definitely. We noted down even more phrases like bottled it up, nailing this, wrap up the album, coming off of the tour, from the get-go.
Oh, yeah. Throw myself in. Can't take it for granted.
Turn my voice on, off, down. Pushing through confidence. Turning point.
Smack that.
Yeah.
Sugarcoat it all. Back it up with evidence. So many good ones.
They're not just vocabulary lists. They have feeling behind them when she says them.
And for people learning English, seeing someone who is, globally famous, also sometimes searching for the right word or being open about how they feel, that could be really encouraging.
Yeah, it kind of demystifies it. Makes communication feel more achievable, even if it's not perfect. Authenticity over perfection.
Exactly. She's showing how to communicate genuinely.
So wrapping this all up, when you look at these solo interviews, it's clear it's way more than just an idol promoting an album.
Oh, absolutely. You see an artist figuring things out, dealing with creative anxieties, getting unexpected wisdom from someone like Taylor Swift.
Sharing those really vulnerable moments behind the songs, reflecting on her unique background.
And yeah, even unintentionally providing this amazing resource for learning natural conversational English.
Her whole journey with Rosie really just underscores the power of finding your own voice and actually using it.
And hopefully through this deep dive, you've gotten a richer sense of who Rosé is as a solo artist, her experiences, her inspirations, even just the way she talks.
It offers this unique way to connect and maybe even learn something along the way just by listening to someone share honestly.
It makes language feel alive and real, not just academic.
So here's something to think about as we finish up. In this industry, and maybe just in life generally, we often focus so much on the polished final result, right? The perfect performance, the hit song.
Yeah, the highlight reel.
But Rosé being so open about the process, the doubts, the struggles, the Rosie says no moments, the learning that feels really refreshing and maybe more relatable.
It does. It acknowledges the work behind the success.
So it makes you wonder, what other artists, especially those who found fame in massive groups, might have similar, maybe less publicized stories about navigating that transition and finding their own individual artistic voice? Something to chew on.